to our lunch conversation. This is a very informal time, so you're welcome to come off video, come off mute. These are meant to be conversations really about the Adirondack Food System Network and who's here. But if you would like to, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Add where you're coming from, what organization, and what you're hoping to get out of the rest of the summit, or what you're hoping to get out of the summit. We look forward to that feedback. But for the most part, this is just a very loose conversation. We had a great conversation yesterday with the participants in the first lunch conversation. But if there's anybody who has a topic that they want to address, feel free to throw that in the chat. I'll do my best to monitor the chat as well. But for those who weren't here yesterday, I do have up on the screen a little bit of information about the overall Adirondack Food System Network and where you can reach out to any one of us. I probably should have introduced myself. So I'm Josh Stefani. I'm the Community Health Manager at Comfort Food Community, but I'm also the co-chair of the Adirondack Food System Network Steering Committee, which is a mouthful. There are members from AHI on here and a few other steering committee members present as well. So Nancy Del Mastro is the program manager for the Adirondack Food System Network at AHI, and then Lynn Trisna is on the steering committee, but also the executive director of Pitney Meadows in Saratoga. So we're here to answer any questions. There were some great conversations about farmers markets and marketing products yesterday, but we had some great farmer focused conversations this morning with Anka and Richard Wiswall. So are there any topics in that realm that folks are wanting to talk about? I open it up to anybody who wants to share their thoughts about the conference so far. I can stop sharing. Thank you, Nancy, for posting the link to the network in there. So if you're interested in getting involved in the network, you can actually go to that link. There is a click here to join the network, and it's a simple Google form. Connie's joining, great. Is everybody enjoying the conference so far? Anything you might want to see next year? We're always open to those conversations. Doug, did you want to add something? Or are you just coming?
Yeah, where do things stand with the working groups? Because I was on the, I've been on the consumption working group, and we haven't met in 6 or 8 months. So I was wondering if that was typical of the working groups and where things stood with those.
That's a great question. And any other steering committee, feel free to answer this as well. But so we are in a little bit of a transition period taking on the summit. So now that we have the summit almost behind us, we'll be actually relaunching those kind of working groups and kicking it off. So the steering committee member in charge of the consumption group has actually left the steering committee, taken a different job. So we'll be, one of the other steering committee members will be taking that on. And we'll be actually launching probably the working groups in March after the next steering committee meeting to actually retouch base, especially around the consumption group and the production group, or the two that we really launched with. So that's a great question, Doug. I hope we'll be kicking those off within the next few weeks.
I'll just add to that, Josh, that we are going to be leaning on the work groups a little bit moving forward with our new grant funding that AFSN has received. And with that funding, we will be working with a couple consultants to look into the future, create a strategic plan, blueprint for action and sustainability plan. So we're hoping that our experts in the region and folks on the working groups can provide their knowledge and expertise to sort of guide some of that work and give some input where possible. So if anyone else that hasn't been a part of those work groups is interested, definitely use the link in the chat and join for that listserv, and we'll continue to send out some more communications regarding those looking forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to bring up, because I think it was really the launch and the working groups, getting them organized, getting people involved. And then once we have a strategic plan, I mean, the food system's so large and very complicated. So having a little bit of direction for those groups and kind of expectations, I think will be really great for the relaunch this year.
Absolutely. And I think we just, speaking for the steering committee a little bit, we've kind of found our footing now with AHI being our backbone organization. And so, that relaunch will be really touching base with a strategic plan and going forward and how we can address various aspects of the food system. So I did drop my email in here, and Nancy just dropped hers. So feel free to reach out to either one of us or both of us for any questions related to that. But you'll be hearing from us, I'm sure, in the next few weeks as we are further finding ground beneath our feet. So, but great, that was a great point, Doug, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Any other aspects about the conference? I mean, there was a lot today. I appreciated Richard's talk today a lot, because I'm not a farmer. I'm at best an amateur gardener. So it was great. It was great to hear that from him and look at some of the financial and the business side of things. And that presentation from Anka was also informative from a producer side of things. So there was a lot in there. Are there any questions related to that we want to explore? Any experiences from anybody on here that they want to share?
I mean, I've been a fan of Richard Wiswall for years now, just because, starting farming, the business side of it was really, really scary. I'd worked for several farms, but, and was aware of, QuickBooks and the business side of it, but it was intimidating to think about going into business. But in my experience of working with managing farms and nonprofits, taking a deep dive in the financials and making it known versus unknown is a lot less scary. And that's why I really liked Richard's talk, just because, if you don't look at something and it's an unknown, it can be very scary and kind of a looming elephant in the room. But if you take a look at it and you write down some numbers and think strategically, it becomes a lot less scary. And for farms, if you're not financially sustainable, what does that do for our food system?
Is there a forum where farmers can discuss decisions or tactics that they've used to leverage their efforts and their investment capital by selecting different crops or selling in different markets or expanding the growing and selling season, or working with different kinds of buyers like restaurants and whatever?
And just to clarify, Jim, do you mean like a survey of some sort or data around that?
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking of, a resource, either data or, it could be a blog, it could be a Facebook group, it could be an organization where, Adirondack Harvest obviously has communications with almost all the food producers in the Adirondacks. Is there any kind of mechanism for letting people share insights into what has enabled them to become more productive or more profitable?
And I think that conferences is really where a lot of those things happen, like NOFA New York, they have resources. But I think what makes it really challenging is a lot of like decisions and those specifics are so based on so many factors of your land, your market. I'm not aware of that other than, going to the farmer's market and talking with other farmers or, neighbors. I don't know of any formalized thing except for, going to conferences and meeting other farmers and sharing through that, like the NOFA New York conference.
Something that I'm just thinking about from the AHI side, I mentioned we received New York State Health Foundation funding to sort of uplift and move the Food Network forward. Part of that in the work plan or narrative was regarding a formal communication strategy. And in just some of the initial discussions around that, we we're thinking about maybe like a newsletter or a blast that we could put out as the Adirondack Food System Network. And so I've taken a couple of notes from what you said, Jim, and that's something that we can potentially look into, reaching out to our network and the farms in the region and either doing bi-weekly or monthly highlights for farms where they could share their information or offer a forum at some point where we could bring everyone together to have some of those discussions and start sharing information.
I'll also add, speaking on behalf of CC Essex and Adirondack Harvest, we have, not me personally, but our Adirondack Harvest staff sends out newsletters to members, and then newsletters also, we have a direct wholesale newsletter that goes out to producers and farmers that sell wholesale. So in these newsletters, we offer our members and farmers opportunities to share what's going on with them. If they want to write a guest blog or guest article, we offer them those opportunities as well. And our ag educator, I don't think she's on right now, but she in the past has led meetings and groups of different types of producers to gather and get together. It's just for Essex County specifically, but I know she's had a lot of success with beef producers, and now we're working on some meetings and farm tours with dairy producers as well. So that's what's going on in Essex County and for Adirondack Harvest at least.
Yeah, Megan, I know we have Mary Godnick in Westport, and I love all the work she's doing. I sat next to her at the Adirondack Harvest dinner last fall. We also have a business consultant in Westport who's retired, but her application now is mentoring people on business issues. And, if you'd like, I'd be happy to introduce her to you guys through Mary. You may know Mary already. But I know along the lines of what Richard was talking about, which is understanding a little bit more about profit and loss, a little bit more about cash flow and investment recovery, knowing about, individual product profitability, things like that. I think she probably would be real interested in working with some people in the Adirondacks to understand some of those concepts.
That's wonderful. I would love an introduction. And there's also a team, the North Country Regional Ag Team. It covers most of the North Country here, and they have a business specialist position. There was a wonderful person in that position a few years ago, and unfortunately she left, and I don't know if they've been able to hire. I think the application is still open. So, if anyone on here knows someone who might be qualified, I would definitely, encourage you to reach out. But also that is a position that's open to all farmers in the North Country to meet one-on-one with this person, go over all of their finances, make plans, etc. So that's a really great resource available.
Good. Just all of her mentoring now is paid for by government organizations. So people she's mentoring don't have to pay anything. But I'll make sure she knows about the that regional ag. Is that part of Cornell?
It's a different arm. I can put, I'll try to put a link in the chat for you.
Thanks.
Kathleen, I see you posted in the chat. Do you want to come off mute and just explain about what that hopes to be? Put you on the spot.
Sure. I love being on the spot sometimes. Keeps me on my toes and out of trouble for the most part, anyhow. So thank you for the opportunity. So Erica Bazzaio and I, the Saranac Lake Community School Office, are partnering with Rachel Karp of our local Chamber of Commerce to organize a community resource day, which will be held on the afternoon of Thursday, May 12th at Riverside Park in Saranac Lake. And part of what is pushing this for us is an attempt to address some disparities and inequities, particularly with regard to our transition age students as they are looking to leave high school and join the larger community. This also ties in with May as Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm not drawing any lines between any form of health, because I feel that whether it's mental health, dental health, or physical health, spiritual health, everything touches upon everything else, and nutrition and economics is certainly a big part of that. So if anyone here today is interested in manning a table, please do contact me. We have yet to send out formal invitations, but at the same time, I am sending out some reserve the date emails to people. So thank you for this opportunity.
Kathleen, that was the perfect timing. And you made us think of ours. So Nancy Del Mastro, myself, and Andrea Bonacci, along with several other partner organizations in the area, are also going to be doing a similar type of resource fair day in Washington County. So it is on May 27th at the Yacht Basin in Fort Edward in Washington County. We are also not finalized on flyers and such yet, kind of doing that. But if anybody is interested in tabling or being part of that event, everything's free. The only thing we ask is that you bring a table and chairs so that we have somewhere to put you. Other than that, we want to see everyone get involved. I know Josh is going to be there. Well, you might not be there, but Comfort Food Community will be there in some capacity, helping out. And then we have, in the past, the Adirondack Rural Health Network, which I oversee with Andrea Bonacci, had partnered with Adirondack Harvest and Comfort Food Community last year to do a healthy food guide. So we're handing those out to all our community members and stuff. So we're trying to pull in as much as we can. Any resources that we're able to do, we're calling it the Hidden Gems of Washington County, and just any resources we can offer. So if anyone's interested, you can always reach out to myself, Nancy, Andrea, even Josh if you want, and Josh can always forward it over to us, or you can always reach out to the AHI Summit at ahihealth.org email, which is attached to the Food Justice Summit itself.
I was just curious, what resources are you looking to give these young people? I mean, what are you looking to do?
For our specific resource day?
Or Saranac? I don't live there. We're going to go up to Saranac, and we canceled. We were worried about the virus. I would like to know about the situation up there, actually. But what resources were you looking to do? I mean, what were you looking for?
For my resource day, we're doing anything and everything, which sounds so crazy, but we're doing food systems, we're doing insurance services. Are there other housing, transportation programs, basically anything a community member could use, but we're trying to put food in. And then Kathleen, I'll let you answer. The only thing I noticed is, Jennifer, I did see the food guide. It is both. We have it in print available, and we can always send them to you. We also have it available online, and I will plop the URL in the chat, and it basically kind of brings you right to Adirondack Harvest, a lot of our resources. So I'll plop that in the chat now.
Is that the food guide that talks about all the restaurants in the area, that one?
No, that one sounds nice though. No,
that's Saranac. That's
ours covers, so the Adirondack Rural Health Network covers Clinton, Essex, Franklin, Fulton, Hamilton, Warren, and Washington counties.
So we partnered with Adirondack Harvest and Comfort Food Community, and we have all the farmers markets and CSAs in the area who accepts SNAP and who doesn't. And I'm trying to think, there's a few other resources on there, like little grocery aisle tips, something for a community member, but also something that could be handed out to partners that they could bring to their clients. So Jennifer, I'll connect with you. And Kathleen, if you want to explain what you have on your resource days too.
Certainly, thank you. So we are looking to do something similar, and we're hoping to have 50 or more tables. And part of this, and this is where involvement from the Chamber of Commerce comes in, it will also be an opportunity for our young people and other community members to seek employment. We know that seasonal employment is important, and this might be an opportunity for some of our local farms to come as well. And I did want to say that I was doing some research, and again, for me, part of what is sparking this is that over a third of Franklin County's population is in the lowest quintile statewide in terms of life expectancy.
Wow.
I want to say it's 33%, perhaps 37%, but it's over a third. And when you think about that, and then 11% of Franklin County's population is in the top fifth. So you got 11% at one end, 33 to 37% at the other. That's pretty alarming to me. So there's been so much shared, and also some of our speakers have touched on the importance of data in terms of driving decision making. This just brings it to the fore for me. So if anyone, I don't want to take too much time right now, but please reach out to me directly, either via email.
County is Saranac? Out of curiosity, is that in the higher end or the lower end?
This is Saranac Lake. There's Saranac, which is separate.
We know. Why?
So
What is Saranac Lake? Is it in the higher end or the lower end in life expectancy?
in Franklin County, it's more in the lower end, and we are in the southern end of Franklin County.
Wow.
Yes.
Can I ask you just a off-base question? What is the virus situation in Saranac Lake? How are your restaurants? Because I canceled a trip. It's not really relevant, but I'm just curious in one sentence. Are people vaccinated? What's going on up there?
I don't have the latest statistics, so I guess I'm not comfortable really speaking to that directly. I myself am just careful. I'm fully vaccinated and boosted, but at the same time, I don't go out any more than I have to. So not to rain on your parade, and I guess that's all I'll say. But other people can chime in as they wish. It's just my own comfort level.
Right.
Not to change the topic completely, but I see Garden Share is also on the call. I'm not sure who from Garden Share is on, but one of our food system network steering committee members is Celine. And in our last meeting, I know that she mentioned Garden Share's local food guide that they put out annually, and that's for St. Lawrence County. And I just popped the link, got the link, so I'm going to pop that in the chat if anyone's curious. And if I see Garden Share has unmuted, so
yeah. So this is Carlene Doan from Garden Share, the associate director. So yeah, so the past 10-12 years, we have been collecting information around our local farms. As you mentioned, the farmers markets, what type of tokens they accept, where you can use your farmers market nutrition program, your Fresh Connect checks, all that. And also retail and restaurant locations that showcase local food. So we do also have a print version, which is 10,000 copies of those. generally, the season goes, we are now collecting information for this upcoming year. And so we will have those print and start distributing them in June. So if people do want some of those that, surrounding area of St. Lawrence County, because we know people travel, which is wonderful in this area. So we always try to have some of those other counties resources of local food guides in St. Lawrence County too. And as you said, it is online. We have that, and that not only online, but for those local food, but also just access programs, talking about food pantries, backpack programs, or community meals that may not really have that local food aspect 100% focus on there, but it's access to food that we're letting our community know where to get. Thank you for sharing that information.
Yes, and thank you for jumping in, providing more information. I did put a link to your food guide, the website, in the chat. And Josh, I see you added something as well.
Yeah, just the link to Adirondack Harvest virtual guide. There were a few other folks who came off video, so I just want to make sure if anybody wants to add anything, feel free. Just want to make sure that space is available, not to interrupt our conversation.
Well, while we're on the topic of growers, over the years, people in St. Lawrence County the perception is that we don't have enough growers, whether it's, market gardeners or farmers or, when it comes to local food. And I'm wondering if we seem to have a pretty good cross section today from different parts of the region. Is that the perception in other counties as well, or?
Does anybody want to answer that? I mean, I can take a stab. I mean, we're the southern end of the Adirondack Reach, so Washington and Saratoga. I think we have a lot of great producers. I think one of our challenges we face is a lot, making sure that that product ends up within the local region as well, and compensating the farmers for their work has been a big challenge. We're seeing a lot of farmers. They're creating farms, and also they're making that trek to bigger markets, either in Western Mass or in some even in New York City. And so that the sale and the market value is higher there, but at the same time, like, what can you do as a region? And when we have so many great dairy and meat producers, but also diversified vegetable growers, and so we have all of that here. It's also incentivizing folks to go to the places like farmers markets or CSAs or farm stands to spend their product or spend their money on this local product too. And how does that factor in to low resource individuals and factors like that? And what are the programs? So I think to answer your question, Doug, I think there are a lot more producers than we think there are. It's just a matter of how are we meeting the producers and the intersection of the consumer or institution, or however we wanted to look at consumer.
Yesterday, you were talking about maybe trying to start documenting those and getting them on a map.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think Adirondack Harvest does a great job of that already. I think, not to reinvent the wheel, that's something we've talked about, and, putting our strategic vision forward and our strategic plan, if that makes sense, to, I think of like the layers of a map. We have food insecurity, we have SNAP and WIC vendors, and just adding that other layer of producers on one more map, I think is a logical step. And working together to see or link those resources up, I think might be a great step forward for the network. But I'm just the one voice on that, and I know there's others who might put something else forward. And I think our strategic plan, once we create that with our consultants, will actually push that forward.
And I think there's another kind of like issue on the horizon of, some of the larger, more established farms, as those farmers get older, who's going to take their place and who's going to transition into their role. I know that's been an issue across the country of, these very large established farms that are feeding the community. That farmer goes to retire and no one's there to replace that farmer. So it's like I think it's a scale issue as well. I think there's a lot of really small farms that are cropping up, but those bigger farms, as those farmers start to retire, who's going to take their place? I mean, there's a lot of small farms, but that investment and that capital, taking on that risk, I think is scary for beginner farmers. So that's just, one issue I've been seeing across the country.
Great point, Lynn. And I know we've had this conversation about, larger farmers starting to disappear, retire, and smaller ones taking their place. And what does that mean for farm to institution is a good question. We promote farm to school, but when you look at capacity and capabilities of certain larger farms that are starting to disappear, what does that mean for being able to source, it's a good example, a corn from one producer that can actually factor that into farm to school. And, maybe Megan actually might know a little bit more about farm to school initiatives than I would, but. Great point, Doug.
I don't know that I have anything concrete to add, but it is definitely a concern and something to keep in mind as, as we move forward with different producers aging out, and just like in terms of Adirondack Harvest, we just continue to encourage farmers to get on our list, and it is a membership base, but we offer sliding scale. So for new smaller farms that maybe can't afford it right away, it's a pay what you can. And we just try to have the most comprehensive list so that, if there is a farmer aging out, selling corn or whatnot, we hopefully have a few more on our list that we can contact for institutional purchasing.
I just wanted to jump in because it is 12:32 and I don't mind us going over by any means. But I do want to make sure we give everyone a break between now and the heavy afternoon that goes straight from 1 to 4. So if anyone has any last thoughts, we'll leave the chat and this up for maybe a minute or so, and then we can close it out. And then we will be, I think we've mentioned this before, we recorded this one. I can't remember if we recorded yesterday's lunch session. We did.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
we did.
It was like so involved that I was so focused in the discussion, I couldn't remember if we recorded it. But everything will be recorded and saved. And then we save the chats as well. So anything that you've asked someone to follow up or you wanted to connect with somebody, we make sure that goes to the appropriate people on the Adirondack Food System Network. So perfect. I'll leave it open.
Just wanted to say that I really appreciated especially the information about the children yesterday, because I teach child psychology and I teach, actually a variety of developmental psych classes, and the information about WIC and SNAP, and I mean, it was so comprehensive. Oh my God! But it was excellent, and overall, I think the information has been very, very good, and I really enjoyed it and very helpful. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Julie. Just a plug, there will be a survey coming out tomorrow morning, so make sure to put your info in there.
The other thing I would say is, living in New York City, if this was, much as I enjoy seeing people in person, if this was in person, this would be much more difficult for me.
Yeah, that's a good thing to know. Yeah, please actually fill out the survey and put that thing in there. And then there's also at the end of the survey, there is a share any comments or suggestions or topics you would like to see in the future. And so we will definitely look at that feedback and take it really heavily for next year's summit. So yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all at 1 o'clock.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.